Well, what you gonna do, brother, with the club with the man? I'm sorry. Dang, I messed up my own lines here. I'm sorry, people. I must have been botching up big time, thinking so far ahead, because in 17 days, I will be live at WrestleMania 35, brother. So let's try this one more time and not run another botch again, just like I mixed up the Silver Dome with the Super Dome at WrestleMania 30, brother. Now I got a cough, brother. Clear my throat. What you gonna do when the Club with the Man 1993 runs wild on Wrestle 30, mate? I'm off tonight. Let's try this again, boys. From the top. Because I am botching my entrances tonight like no tomorrow. And a 1. And a 2. And a 1, 2, 3. Go! What you gonna do when the Club with the Man 1993 runs wild on WrestleMania 35, brother? Much better. What you gonna do when the Club with the Man 1993 runs wild on WrestleMania 35 on you, brother? I think I got it that time. Yeah. I think I did. Satisfied? Good, sounds. Man, that sucked, but oh well. Guys, what is going on? This is the Club with the Man 1993 coming at you live for my WWE Top 10 special of the week as we're going to continue on with the WrestleMania topics. This week, we're going to do Top 10 Best and Worst WrestleMania Storylines of all time. Did I specify that? I forgot to specify that in the title, so I will make sure to change that before I Oh, sorry, I did. Never mind. Wow. I'm off tonight, guys. I don't know what my entrance was awful. Then, you know, I'm botching my own lines here, but it's all good because, guys, we're here to talk about my top 10 best and worst WWE WrestleMania storylines of all time. Of course, as I said last week with moments, I'm trying my best to pick stuff that I know I'd be able to talk more when it came to matches or even just my top 10 WrestleManias in 2 weeks. So try not to get too repetitive here, basically. Again, even though, once again, as I've always said, you know, I am a late bloomer fan. I have watched all the WrestleManias, but not all the biggest WrestleMania moments I feel like I've been able to appreciate as much as, you know, some other people would. Just a second ago, I just realized that, you know, last week I forgot to mention the ending to the Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart match, of course. I will be mentioning that for sure in my WrestleMania top 10 best and worst WrestleMania matches next week. I'm pretty sure next week will probably be one of the better special live streams for sure I've had in quite a while. But this, we're going to focus on storylines. Now, there's a couple of these storylines that the matches didn't turn out so good, of course, when it came to that. But the storyline was still great. Of course, there's in the worst, there's most of them, you know, just some of the not really the matches were good. Some of them were just like, you know, average to decent in most part. But it was just storylines I felt that just were really lackluster. And I'll be real, I feel like I've had like an absolute terrible storyline in my worst list for sure. But you know, they're definitely worth talking about as they definitely could have, you know, been done better or maybe not done at all, maybe, for what I could say. Or you know what I mean. But without further ado, guys, let's get into it. We are going to talk we're going to talk about those storylines. Let's check the live chat first. And we got, what's up, Josh? Thoughts on Randy Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 25. That is actually included in one of my lists. And of course, guys, as always, you know, I'll give you guys, you know, the option to choose to do the best or the worst ones first. Usually I start with the worst ones first and with the best and the good note, but I'll leave it up to you guys as always. And we also got Mark in the live chat. Worst Donald Trump and Vince McMahon. Oh, ha ha ha. So great, guys. this was such a great storyline. It was so great. It was the miracle. Bobby and I, we were amazing. We shaved off Vince's head. We made him look like an idiot for months. And but then, of course, Vince tried to fire back at Bobby for months and trying to take his ECW championship away. He succeeded. But you know what? Vince, you still lost eventually to Bobby Lashley. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I completely forgot. And Mark suggests doing the worst first. All right, I will start off with the worst storylines first. And yes, bald Vince for sure. When Vince McMahon went bald. And of course, wore a stupid hat and just like a bandana over his head for how many months after that in 2007. Ah, man. That one was. That wasn't on my list, but that is definitely a good honorable mention for the worst, the best and the worst storylines in WrestleMania history. But let's get started off though by with the top 10 worst storylines, since Mark suggested worst first. We start off here with number 10. All I have one word to say about this storyline is spear. 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 It was a storyline for Edge and Chris Jericho for WrestleMania 26. Now, the series of matches these guys had were not too bad. The story kind of started off, on a good note. Edge made his surprise return in the 2010 Royal Rumble match. Of course, this is a month earlier. Chris Jericho had just put Edge down. It's called him the long and forgotten at the Slammies. And then, of course, Edge, was working extra hard to come back. And he came back to, a hero's welcome for sure, as, any big superstar, whether you're a face or heel. Like, I'm pretty sure Tommaso Ciampa will come back with a big ovation whenever he returns next year, probably either early, I say Rumble or Mania next year, we'll probably see Tommaso Ciampa back at this point. Either way, a hero welcome return at the Royal Rumble. And, of course, he takes out Chris Jericho in the Rumble match, coming after him for what he said. And then Jericho eventually does win the world title at Elimination Chamber thanks to Shawn Michaels interfering and costing Undertaker the match, because Shawn Michaels was obsessed with the idea of going to WrestleMania to fight Undertaker one more time. He wanted one more shot to prove, that he could be the one to end the streak, course, which we'll get into that one later. But this match, though, with the matches with Jericho and Edge were all right. But then once the streak actually started to happen, not the streak, the feud actually started to build up more whenever Edge more so solidified he was going after Jericho for his WrestleMania match. It's kind of meh. All it was based around was Edge they focused way too much on Edge just craving to hit Jericho with that spear. Spear. It was one of those things where you had Edge as the ultimate opportunist, the heel that he was, how great he was, of course, in that role, but it just kind of showed that they kind of took his mystique away a little bit with that brief babyface run he had when he came back, when he was on SmackDown. Of course, after his feud with Jericho ended, he went to Raw, turned heel again, kind of got some momentum back, and then he was a babyface again the last couple of months before he retired. Okay, this is coming off of Jericho. Edge, of course, having a hero's return of coming back, a lot sooner than expected. Of course, he's gonna get a good reaction. But this feud was just missing something for sure, and just being based around just spear. It's like it was one of those feuds that could have been, a little more interesting than it probably could have been in the long run, in my opinion. But one second. It could have been a little bit. This could have been a little bit better storyline. It was like, the matches were good, but the story behind it was kind of weak. Like it had something there, of course, with Jericho, kind of just putting down Edge before Edge made his surprise return sooner than expected. But after that, it just didn't really have much to it. All it was spear. Not the worst, but could have been a little bit better. But that's why it is my number 10 on this list. So let's move on now to number 9. It's from last year's WrestleMania. Jinder Mahal and the U.S. title. How in God's... This is a storyline that really could have been just based on Bobby Roode and Randy Orton. I mean, going to the match they had at Fastlane, where Randy Orton pretty much was stepped up to Bobby Roode to challenge for the U.S. title. And this was around the time where they had that ridiculous and pathetic-looking top 10 list. That was, again, supposed to be a top 10 list of superstars who should deserve opportunities. Instead, it turned into a top 10 list of the top 10 on SmackDown Live, making it kind of look pointless. And Bobby Roode was already having a very lackluster run with the U.S. title and already showing that him as a babyface just is not the right way to go. And what has it done since? He's been on Raw and he's hit rock bottom, as I claim. All the first part of this feud had to be was just Randy Orton basically saying that, you know, he wanted he just wanted a U.S. title opportunity because that's the only title that's eluded him. Okay, a good way to start going to Fastlane. You could have built off of that, turned one of them heel at Fastlane, and built into another, like, bigger match at WrestleMania. Cool with me. No, this feud was built around Jinder Mahal, who had just come off of one of the worst WWE title runs ever. And my thing was, I was trying to be like, okay, you know, at least see how he does in the mid-cards. And just that bad taste coming out of that world title run, the same stuff he was doing was carrying down to his mid-card run as well. And it wasn't doing anything for me. Because it was Jinder Mahal coming out and saying stuff that just makes you look at him and think, that the best you got? You're trying to cause tension between Randy Orton and Bobby Roode based off of a stupid top 10 list. Just made no sense. He was the only thing that stood out in this feud. Nothing with Randy Orton, nothing with Bobby Roode, and then of course Rusev got involved because he pinned the United States champion and got himself into the match, basically. But basically, it only happened because Rusev was threatening to leave. And they gave him that WrestleMania moment just to prevent him from leaving. Which, you know, still didn't do much, you know, for long. Because what they do with them afterwards. Yeah, they eventually gave him the U.S. title at the end of the year. Very brief, though, before they paired him up with Shinsuke Nakamura and turned him heel again. And what made absolutely no sense. This just led to Jinder Mahal winning the U.S. title just to drop it the following week to Jeff Hardy, which, thank God, that reign did not last long at all. A long run. At that point, I was just done. I was done with Jinder Mahal, and I'm so glad he just went back to Raw and he went back to catering. For the Superstar Shakeup this year, don't you dare put Jinder back on SmackDown. Don't put him on SmackDown. If they put him back on SmackDown, you know they're going to give him some kind of a spotlight. Let's just pretend that big push that Jinder Mahal got, that he absolutely sucked, showing that they could have given me the same exact push, and I would have done just as good as Jinder Mahal did. Just didn't make sense. Like why was Jinder Mahal the center of attention of a feud that he wasn't really even involved with in the first place, and that got him a U.S. title shot? Made no absolute freaking sense. But it's my number 9 for worst WrestleMania storylines of all time. Number 8, The Big Show not having a WrestleMania moment. This was just kind of flat to me. 2012, Cody Rhodes had been the Intercontinental Champion for 270 days, I believe it was. He was Intercontinental Champion for. Had a good run, I gotta say. And then for WrestleMania, he gets involved in some feud with The Big Show, attacking him because he ends up picking on him because he had never had a WrestleMania moment. I mean, he pointed out some of the embarrassing stuff he did. He lost to Floyd Mayweather. He wrestled in a freaking sumo match. Dear Lord, let's not even remember that one at all. And just flat out just embarrassed Big Show's career. I mean, something like that could work for another underdog wrestler, but for a guy like the Big Show, again, who should be booked, and again, I respect the hell out of the Big Show. I do. I really do. I feel bad I was crapping on him and chanting, please retire at him in 2015 because, let's just face it, that was a really poorly booked heel run for the Big Show for sure. But the fact is there's been times that they just haven't booked Big Show as like a dominating, dangerous monster. They booked him as just like the world's biggest child, as I say sometimes. Or they book him in ways that just make him look like an underdog when he is not an underdog. Big Show is not an underdog. Yes, he can do dangerous things as a baby face, but he can do that as a heel too. But you don't want to book him like, going, let's go, Thorny! Let's go, Thorny! Or on his knees crying as he's losing his job. I'm sorry, I made fun of your boys, or whatever. And it's just, this just didn't really do anything for anyone. It was pointless. And then the fact that, they gave Big Show the IC title for like a month just to drop it to Cody Rhodes a month later at Extreme Rules in that tables match that Big Show only lost because his foot slipped off the apron and just pushed slightly through the table. That's how Big Show lost a tables match, which was one of my worst matches of all time, by the way, I gotta say. It was just pointless, just kind of a waste of time, man. It was a storyline that with Cody Rhodes involved that could have worked. I would have rather seen somebody else though get that spot though that he would drop the title to, and not the Big Show though. I mean, because Cody Rhodes did eventually later that summer feud with Christian, maybe he could have given Christian a WrestleMania moment, maybe, or something like that. I mean, try to think. Well, then again, Christian's had moments, when he was teaming with Edge and whatnot. But, as like a single star, could have given Christian a moment win the IC title maybe off of Cody Rhodes. If he, of course, was he still there yet? I can't remember if he was still around or if he was on hiatus. I think he might have been on hiatus at that top point. Actually, that may not have worked, but I don't know. It's kind of a flat storyline to me, and I had to put it on my list here. Cody Rhodes and the Big Show, because Big Show had never had a WrestleMania moment. Number 7, John Cena and the Love Triangle before WrestleMania 25. This one kind of seemed like another waste of time. Didn't really do anything for anybody in the long run. So the story here is Edge and Big Show were chosen to have the world title match at WrestleMania. They were focusing on making history, basically, and having a good match. John Cena, who had previously been the world heavyweight champion, came out just to expose to Edge and Big Show, because I think, this was the WrestleMania where John Cena dropped the world title to Edge after, I think this was the year where Edge was in the opening Elimination Chamber match. He lost, and then he beat up Kofi and replaced him in the main event. And that's how he got the World Heavyweight Championship. So I can't remember how Big Show got the match, but John Cena basically could have gotten his rematch easily. And they could have just had Cena and Edge have a match. But then they randomly insert the Big Show in there just to have it revealed that Vicky Guerrero has been cheating on Edge with the Big Show. And once again, it's storyline. It's like promos with the Big Show first off saying like, don't hurt my lover. Don't hurt my lover. Like just again, instead of that looking like, just a dangerous looking giant being like, just the complete opposite, not being able to take seriously. And it was all just for John Cena to get another WrestleMania moment. I mean, Like, why couldn't have Edge, gotten the win here at least or something like that to keep the title? It was a pointless feud to me. It just did nothing. It was just an excuse to give John Cena a WrestleMania moment. Just wasn't exciting. Match it had was average. Ended, of course, with Cena, doing a double AA or something like that on Big Show and Edge. I can't remember. Or he AA'd one on top of the other. I don't know. But to me, it was pointless. It was stupid. Didn't do anything for anyone. Just set up for eventually a pointless feud with John Cena and the Big Show after Cena dropped the world title to Edge in a last man standing match at Backlash after WrestleMania, after he won the title back at Mania. So, kind of pointless. Didn't really care for it. That's why it's on my list at number 7. Number 6, a feud for WrestleMania 29. Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger for the World Heavyweight Championship. I did not get this feud at all. Jack Swagger, had a really bland and forgettable world title run in 2010 after he cashed in on Chris Jericho. And then he wasn't really doing anything for years. And then he wins. He comes back with a little bit of a newer gimmick. He's paired with Zeb Coulter as like a rebel, basically. And he wins the Elimination Chamber match that year in 2013 to challenge Alberto Del Rio for the world title, who was at that time a babyface, meant to come across as like some big Latin hero. Like, the goal eventually WWE wanted to make Del Rio the next Rey Mysterio. Well, excepting though bigger, but like the next Latino hero, basically. It just was not working now. Del Rio was more meant to be a heel. Del Rio, he was a perfect heel because he was a douche in real life, basically. It just did nothing. It just felt like, Del Rio in a terrible role, defending against, some guy who just had really no business at all being there. It was crap. It was garbage. It did nothing for anyone. It was like a low card match in a main event title match at WrestleMania. It's bland. It was boring. Didn't care for it. That's why it's my number 6. So far, we got number 10 is Spear. Number 9, Jinder Mahal in the U.S. title feud for WrestleMania 34. Number 8, Big Show, no WrestleMania moment. Number 7, Cena in the Love Triangle. Number 6, this is Swagger and Del Rio crap. Live chat. Let's see here. Mark is saying best Daniel Bryan the Authority for sure. Best Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Yes, Rock and Stone Cold's another best. Undertaker and Kane's actually a good best also for storyline. Worst, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, WrestleMania 20, since they were both leaving. Well, I know they were both leaving, but the build-up, though, to the match I thought was good. Well, the promo I see, the build-up I thought was good. It's just the match that sucked, for sure, when it happened. Would you follow this under best or worst? The Rock and Saw Connection and Evolution. Best or the worst? I'm trying to think. I'm not too sure. Maybe more just towards the best. More towards like a best. It was a good feud. I'd say it would be a best, but it wasn't like, one of my favorites. Braun Strowman and Nicholas, don't remind me. Undertaker and Triple H end of an era, of course, was amazing. I definitely got, as an honorable mention, had that one on my list. But that storyline was definitely awesome. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon was great also. Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, and Mike Tyson, that was pretty good. Also, worst Santina Marella. I wouldn't say that's a storyline. Of course, it was a moment or a match, but definitely that's terrible. We'll talk about that, of course, next week. Worst, Zack Ryder as Intercontinental Champion. I was fine with Zack winning the IC title. Well, it did, of course, lead to, The Miz, eventually, at the beginning of, like, some of the best years of his career, for sure, when he dethroned Zack Ryder the night after WrestleMania. But to me, the thing that worries me, though, is, again, Neville was supposed to be in that match. I wonder what the plan was going to be if Neville would have won the IC title. I would not want to see Neville, though, drop the IC title to The Miz immediately afterwards, because Neville deserved a longer run than Zack Ryder for sure. But I was fine with Zack Ryder winning the IC title. It's definitely a nice surprise. But thank you, Mark, for your stuff in a lot of chat. Let's continue on here. Number 5, Shane McMahon and Vince's bitch, The Undertaker, basically. The feud with Shane McMahon and The Undertaker going into WrestleMania 32. Now, Shane McMahon returned to WWE, what was a huge surprise, of course, 2016. Again, when I never saw it coming. Like, that was one return that, like, you could not have had me to guessing. I mean, the closest I had, of course, to any speculation all over Shane, even though I still wouldn't suspect it, was when I read a rumor like a week or so before Shane returned that The Undertaker's opponent at WrestleMania 32 is someone who is currently not on the current roster. I'm like, who in the heck could that possibly be? I did not think, though, it would be Shane McMahon. Shane returned, of course, was basically saying he wanted control of Monday Night Raw, saying the truth that how, you know, ratings and stuff had been down and everything was not too good, which, of course, was true. And then, of course, what made that even more special is whenever Shane eventually did take over, his stuff was looking good and everybody else was looking like crap, basically storyline-wise. And it just fit so good to me, and it intrigued me for sure. Again, he brought us Sami Zayn and AJ Styles in a match on Raw a couple weeks after WrestleMania, and it was amazing. But this storyline was just off. Vince McMahon wanted to, you know, to give Shane a chance to earn all that by having a match at WrestleMania. He made a Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker. They probably only made a Hell in a Cell just to have Shane jump off the cell and do some type of amazing stunt, prove that he still got it, which that was, you know, hard to watch, a cool spot, except for the fact, of course, that that we see Michael Cole on the side reading, "Oh my God, Shane, what are you doing?" off of a sheet of paper, which was quite pathetic and embarrassing for Michael Cole. But the problem have this feud, though, was why The Undertaker, though? Why was The Undertaker, though, being used as, like, you know, Vince's bitch, basically, like doing Vince's dirty work, basically? I feel this would have worked a little bit better. It's because Undertaker's career was on the line. Because if Undertaker would have lost, his career would have been over. But the thing is also is Undertaker's streak had already ended. If the streak was still alive, I'd say this might have been a little more interesting. But since it wasn't, it kind of felt a little pointless. And I felt he could have used, you know, someone else, like maybe like Batista, or trying to think of someone else who they could have brought in. I mean, Goldberg, or I don't know, someone that, of course, you know, Vince could have favored heavily, and it would have, like, you know, felt a little more natural. Undertaker just didn't quite feel so natural. And then, of course, the worst part is after the match, even though Shane lost, Vince still gave him charge. He still let him run Raw until Payback, and then he decided to have both Stephanie and Shane run Raw. And eventually, when the brand split happened, he put Shane on SmackDown, Stephanie on Raw, basically. So it all seemed kind of pointless. I mean, maybe not, again, but the biggest problem I had with this, again, is why The Undertaker, though? Someone else should have been, you know, doing Vince's dirty work instead of The Undertaker. So The Undertaker had, like, at this point, nothing to lose besides his career. Like, you know, he was pretty much, you know, showing signs that he was already, you know, pretty much out the door the way it was anyways, like, you know, physical wise. But that's why it's one of my worst storylines at number 5. Number 4. Round 1 of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Here's the thing. The build for the WrestleMania 31 match I thought was terrible. The match itself, even without the cash-in, was great. WrestleMania 34, even though, you know, I felt it was a little bit of a forced storyline, the storyline was still interesting. Match was awful. Complete opposite. This whole storyline was just so focused on the WWE trying so hard, so desperately hard, in their beginning stages to put over Roman Reigns when they knew they tried to push him at the wrong time. And because of that, Roman Reigns, of course, we all know, never, got out of that backlash until he had to get sick with leukemia and go away for 5 months and come back. And now, I'll be honest and say, the cancer-free return is starting to wear off a little bit, but I still, I'm not really can't really hate on the guy yet. Now, if he just squashes Drew McIntyre WrestleMania, then probably. But anyway, so this whole time, WWE was just doing anything they could, like always, to try to get everyone to love Roman Reigns. They even went as far as having Daniel Bryan lose to Roman at Fastlane. And then the next night on Raw, act like Roman Reigns' biggest fan, basically. It was basically Daniel Bryan being Vince McMahon and saying what Vince would say. Basically acting like, oh, your hero loves Roman. So if he does, so should you. My eardrum bursted before. That's why I keep picking up my ear. And to me, it was just so lackluster. It didn't really do much at all. It didn't help us like Roman. Heck, the more they tried, the more it made us, hate him even more. At this point, I was like, just put the title on him and let's just move on and see what happens from here, basically. But it was very lackluster. I mean, last time there was a storyline. Yes, again, it was one of the storylines was like, okay, you could have had someone tell the storyline sooner and not, just because Roman's around, but it made sense. Roman was tired of a champion being on a part-timer, so I'm like, okay, just get off them. And then they just put WWE on lockdown until they knew Roman wasn't going to get the good reaction. But then again, we saw right through it. But yeah, this storyline here was just flat. And of course, worst part of the storyline, least favorite part, of course, is the end, that go home segment before WrestleMania 31. Remember that, guys? The tug of war over the championship. When Roman Reigns came down to confront Brock Lesnar face-to-face, it's the first time they've actually seen each other face-to-face since that interview segment they had at that Raw after Royal Rumble. Remember, because that was the year when it snowed and Raw was canceled. So instead, they had people being interviewed in Stanford. And we saw Roman and Brock go face-to-face. Now, of course, this is the last time we see them go face-to-face. And then all they do is Roman gets in the ring and just play tug of war over the championship. Is that the best you can come up with for your go-home segment for WrestleMania? Not just an all-out brawl. I wanted to see an all-out brawl between these two. I got it at WrestleMania 31. I didn't get the go-home segment. And I sure as hell did not get it at WrestleMania 34. But definitely, to me, one of the worst WrestleMania storylines for sure, especially round one for sure. I mean, this whole storyline in general sucked because, again, they kept dragging it on and on and on, having the dumbest excuses to have Roman Reigns keep getting opportunities. And it just drove me crazy, guys. I could not stand it. Geez, I wonder what would have happened if this was during a time whenever they took away rematches like they did whenever they brought whenever they brought that in last December when the McMahons took over and we're the authority now. Nope, that's a lie. A big, fat lie. It's not true. We're not the authority. We're just still, people have to settle with whatever the heck entertains the old man in the back. But yeah, that is my number 4. Round 1 of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Number 3, the Booker T racist storyline. Of course, Booker T was not the race. This Triple H and WWE came across at this. This, of course, just left a really bad mark on the WWE. Yeah, you can say the match was still kind of decent at WrestleMania, even though it was it was Booker T basically beat the crap out of Triple H for most of the match, and then he hit a couple of his finishers maneuvers on Triple H to keep him down, but Triple H was only able to hit Booker T with one pedigree, and Booker T couldn't even kick out of a pedigree. But the biggest problem with this feud, of course, was the fact that it was made to like a racist storyline, where Triple H basically, said the line that the WWE never wants someone like you to be champion or something like that. Basically, just implying, the only thing is implying that it's that Booker T's black, and the WWE wouldn't want to put a championship on, an African American black wrestler, basically. Now we've had, of course, The Rock and somewhat, but we be a world champion, whatnot, but he's Samoan. Like, that's why, Kofi Kingston is going to get that big moment at WrestleMania 35 and become WWE champion, basically. But the fact, of course, that the WWE went with the storyline, making themselves look pretty bad. Because, you got, as I say, you got to be careful when you write storylines. Yes, they're just stories. But what does that make creative look behind the scenes if you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again? Whenever you get to, a moment where you don't even put over the baby face in the storyline, he should have been put over to prove yourself you're wrong, that, hey, we're not, what you think we are. We actually do, care about, we don't, discriminate against, people with different races or different, sexes or whatnot. No, we are, we're very equal. But telling that storyline and then you don't pull the trigger and put the world title on Booker T kind of makes your company look a little bit bad, in my opinion. That's why, of course, you can somewhat, fix this, giving Kofi the title of WrestleMania 35, which I'm still, again, even though he won the gauntlet until Vince brought out Daniel Bryan for Kofi to lose, Kofi's getting in that match somehow. I know he is. Just you wait. But that's my number 3. The racist storyline involving Booker T. Number 2. Roman Reigns and the Authority. This one pisses me off because this whole storyline started off so good, so great, and it was building up for a dream match of mine. Again, I had been wanting to see a match with Roman Reigns and Triple H ever since the Shield and Evolution feuded in 2014. I don't know what it was, but I had always wanted to see those two go at it. I thought we were going to get at SummerSlam in 2014, but instead we got him and Randy Orton, which was a good match, but when I watched it the second time, it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Like, the second half of the match was pretty good. The first half was kind of meh. That's, of course, where I think people start speculating, what the plan was for Roman Reigns to basically become the next John Cena, basically. So this storyline with Triple H started off good. Of course, the Authority is doing everything they can, as always, to not have the title on Roman Reigns. They didn't want him being, their guy because, Roman Reigns, refused to, side with them, basically. So Triple H did anything he could to keep that title off Roman Reigns. And, of course, they had that terrible cash-in of Sheamus at Survivor Series, and it leads to that awful feud with Roman Reigns and Sheamus for TLC 2015. Match wasn't too bad, actually, what they had, but then, of course, Sheamus retains, and then, obviously, the League of Nations were obviously sent out there and to do the bidding of the Authority. Well, Roman Reigns had enough, and he literally beat the shit out of Triple H after the match. And it was a pretty darn good beatdown for sure. That it was like, WWE, that's how you got to book Roman Reigns. Not just this smiling, laughing, this guy just tells fairy tales when he looks like he should be, tearing people apart, basically. And when you have him being all badass and beating the shit out of Authority figures, that's what, we can get behind, especially if people who deserve to get their ass kicked, basically. So he writes off Triple H off TV for about a month, and Triple H returns at the Royal Rumble 2016 when the WWE title was defended in the Royal Rumble match. Of course, probably just to, you know, give Roman Reigns a reason to be in the Rumble match in the first place. So Triple H returns, he eliminates Roman Reigns, and he becomes champion. Which right there, I was just like, I mean, the Rumble match is good, but I'm like, does Triple H need to be champion, though, for this feud? Like, we all knew the match at WrestleMania was going to be Triple H and Roman Reigns. But I felt at this point, Roman already, you know, overcome the odds that the night after TLC when he won the championship. So the McMahon's already lost there and put the title on him. This I felt was more personal. Should have been just a one-on-one match, even like a no holds barred match or something like that, or a no disqualification match, and not really for the championship. But here's where the feud truly died. Night after Royal Rumble, Triple H comes out and they say, you know, they're gonna watch people tonight and see who impresses them the most. And of course, those people will be put into a match at Fastlane, and the winner, of course, would face Triple H at WrestleMania 32. You think you're going to give it the opportunities to at least one person that, you know, Triple H favors, basically, and maybe something like kind of on the edge. And he also says that Roman Reigns will be not getting any opportunities for this championship as long as he is champion. Well, Stephanie must not heard that, because at the end of the night, she gives Roman Reigns a chance to fight for the WWE title. She makes a match with 3 guys that I wonder to this day, why on earth would Triple H want to face any of these guys? Brock Lesnar, he's had a history with. Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns' best friend. You really think the WWE Triple H wants to face Roman Reigns' best friend? And Roman Reigns himself, the man that Triple H said earlier in the night, is not going to get another title opportunity as long as I'm champion. And they just gave him the opportunity out of the blue. Like, if Roman was going to get back to that title opportunity, they should have stacked the odds against him. Like, made him wrestling, like, you know, gauntlet matches, or, you know, just multi-match, or like made Roman's life a living hell or something like that for months. Like, they didn't even try to, like, you know, dig deep into the friendship of him and Dean Ambrose. It was just like, okay, we're fighting each other. Cool. We'll just have to take out the beast. Like, that's when the match happens. All it was, they beat down Brock Lesnar and just brought into the ring until Roman speared Dean, and that was it. The storyline just fell apart. Yes, they had a couple good beatdowns here and there, but still, it did nothing for Roman Reigns, did nothing for Triple H. And then, of course, the thing was, too, they kept Roman Reigns off TV for like 3 or 4 weeks in between Fastlane and Mania because they were afraid to put Roman Reigns on TV and say where he'd get a terrible reaction. If you were that afraid to give for your number one contender to get a terrible reaction, why is he getting the spot then? You know, it would not have happened if you would have just kept going with what you were doing. Instead, you literally just handed Roman another opportunity. It was not one of those, screw you, this is how we're doing things moments. And that's why Roman Reigns for the past 4 years have been booed. Because Roman Reigns, again, great talent, great wrestling. Yeah, his promo skills were pretty awful at first, but they have definitely improved. Roman Reigns is booked in a way that WWE was saying, screw you all, this is how we're doing things around here. And that's why he just he fell into that pit of being hated. It's sad that it happened, but that's what happened. And that's why, of course, that storyline is my number 2. Roman Reigns and the Authority. Number 1, a match that seriously did not need to happen again. Twice in a lifetime. John Cena by 2013 had already accomplished enough. He had so much, so many, championship wins, so many WrestleMania moments. He was already a Hall of Famer, basically. Year before, he loses the biggest match of his career to The Rock at WrestleMania 28. And then they go to tell this year-long story that John Cena's career just went downhill and that The Rock was responsible for John Cena's collapse. The Rock just beat John Cena. He proved that he was the better one. If John Cena's 2012 was so bad, he would not have beaten Brock Lesnar. He would not have even won Money in the Bank. I know he failed to cash in, but he would not have even won it at all. He got into a championship feud with CM Punk. It's not like he never did get into the championship feud. And then, of course, he got to make out and probably sleep with AJ Lee also, which I'm sure, any man would be pretty jealous of, basically, because AJ Lee is pretty sexy. Of course, she dumped him for Dolph Ziggler, unfortunately, at the end of the year, and then he dumped crap on top of the both of them. But still, this storyline was just so over-exaggerated. If John Cena really had that big of a downfall, then how on earth did like all that other good stuff come around? How on earth was he still voted Superstar of the Year in 2012? Of course, he didn't accept the awards. He felt it was the worst year of his career. You looked like a sore loser dwelling on one loss. That one loss didn't prove you were a fraud. You still had all those championship wins and victories. You still beat some of the biggest names up to that point. You just showed you were not better than the great one. But you had to get in the way once again of CM Punk, who in 2011, came off of the hottest run as a Summer Punk. He should have been in the main event of WrestleMania 28. Nope, we did the year-long build for, once in a lifetime, which I can accept because, that was a great build for that match. But then this match, like Cena, Punk should have been in the main event that year, of course. Even if him and Taker was for the title or not, that could have been the main event. Or if they would, of course, done a three-way at WrestleMania with Cena, Punk, and Rock, it could have been John Cena overcoming, if booked right, it could have been John Cena overcoming, the three biggest obstacles, two biggest obstacles of the past year or two. The Rock and CM Punk. Because CM Punk and John Cena had some great matches, some great history together. Of course, we did have that match on Raw a couple weeks, not long after Chamber, where Cena basically put up his Royal Rumble spot on the line, and the winner would face The Rock at WrestleMania, and he faced Punk. And of course, it was a great match. Punk lost, but it was still a great match. But it was, as I always say, it was one of those stories that had a sequel to it that didn't need to happen. Well, maybe if it was a triple threat match, it would have been a little bit easier to digest. Or also, what if Cena would have turned heel? Again, rumored either at WrestleMania 28 or even at WrestleMania 29, they were going to do it, but then that Kmart special came out, and because of that, they had to have Cena still be a babyface. But to me, it's just a big slap in the face. Just like it just took away, a big moment, like something that could have led to something fresh and, big. Instead, just faded what had previously happened away and made it look like nothing. Made it not matter at all because Cena always had to get that win back, as we all know. But that's basically what happened. But yeah, so that is that's my worst list. Let's go over it one more time. My worst list, which is number 10 is Edge and Chris Jericho spear in 2010. Number 9 is Jinder Mahal and the U.S. title in WrestleMania 34. Number 8 is Big Show not having a WrestleMania moment, the storyline WrestleMania 28. Number 7 is Cena and the Love Triangle, WrestleMania 25. 6 is Swagger and Del Rio's crap at WrestleMania 29. Number 5 is Shane McMahon and Vince's bitch, The Undertaker, WrestleMania 32. Number 4 is the first round of Reigns and Lesnar, WrestleMania 31. Number 3 is Booker T, racist storyline, WrestleMania 19. Number 2 is Roman Reigns, The Authority, WrestleMania 32. And number 1 is Twice in a Lifetime. Those are my top 10 worst storylines. Let's see what we got here. Mark says best is Trish and Mickey James for sure. Psycho Mickey. Batista Triple H WrestleMania 21. That was a good one also. Definitely, underrated. Worst you thought was Chris Jericho, Christian, Trish Stratus Love Triangle. I actually like that one, but if you think it's the worst, that's fine with me. Rock and Hulk Hogan was great. John Cena and Rusev wasn't bad, except that it would have been nice to see Rusev gone over at WrestleMania 31. Triple H and Sting was good, except the wrong person went over, of course, but that was still a great feud. Orton and Rollins was good too. Triple H and Roman Reigns storyline was okay to him, which again, it started off good, but again, that big, mark of, Roman Reigns will get no more opportunities as long as I'm champion. End of the night, Roman Reigns got an opportunity. You just handed him like it was that easy. Best Taker and Cena. Taker and Cena actually has a good build. Dean and Brock. The build for Dean and Brock was great, but the match itself was terrible. That was a big letdown for sure. Worst, Bray Wyatt and John Cena. Once again, that one, storyline-wise to say, was built great. It was rolling great. The match itself, again, watching the match again, the match was great. Up until that moment whenever John Cena hit Rowan with that chair shot, and it's just been all downhill for the Wyatt family since. Rock and Cena had awesome video package segments, and more. Don't agree. Oh yeah, I mean, they definitely had some awesome video packages and whatnot, but I think the build of the once in a lifetime I liked. Twice in a lifetime though, I wasn't a big fan of it. But the video packages, of course, were good for sure. We got Lauren in the live chat also joining us. Thanks for joining us, Lauren. But we also just got through the worst storylines for WrestleMania. Now let's get to the best storylines for WrestleMania. Number 10. Even though, of course, the match at WrestleMania wasn't that good, I still had to include this. I actually did think this was some pretty good storytelling. Randy Orton gives the McMahons hell at WrestleMania 25. WrestleMania 25, this was in January. Orton started to target the McMahon family, basically because he wanted to get his hands on Triple H after he won the Royal Rumble, because he set out Triple H, ruined his moment like 5 years earlier. Now he wanted to ruin his. The storyline was great. It was great. It was. Again, Randy Orton was probably when Randy Orton was at his best. I still gotta say, seductive. He was just like, he was dangerous. He was scary. He he had the legacy beside him with Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr., who were definitely benefiting from being, alongside with him. They go ahead and they take out Mr. McMahon. They take out Shane. Of course, the last person they were trying to get to was Triple H. But of course, Randy, would not control himself. He kept showing, of course, sympathy and playing the mind game so that he actually cared, and claiming that he has IAD, I think it was, irritable or irrational aggressive. IES or IED, irrational or integrational explosive disorder, something like that. Where, of course, obviously, it's played a couple times, in any of his feuds where Orton has definitely, and I could see it in real life too, Orton has had a history of, not being able to control his anger sometimes. And that's what causes him to outburst. But of course, the thing was those outbursts were controlled. Randy wanted to do what he was doing. He went as far as, of course, as RKOing Stephanie McMahon himself and kissing her knocked out in front of a handcuffed Triple H. Of course, the problem with this, though, of course, is Triple H won the match at WrestleMania. Probably should have been Randy, of course, going over with this. And the match itself, I wouldn't say it was a terrible match, but it was just a mad match because we had to follow a match like, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had WrestleMania 25. Like, good luck. It was just a slow match that didn't really turn to me. I wouldn't say it was awful, but it was boring. Crowd was worn out, and but I still thought the storytelling was pretty much spot on. and brought up the best and the both being pretty dangerous and whatnot. And I thought it was a pretty good storyline to go into WrestleMania 25. Just the match didn't really capitalize on it, of course, but it was still good. That was number 10. Number 9, once in a lifetime. Twice in a lifetime, no. Once in a lifetime, yes. We knew probably at some point the match would happen between John Cena and The Rock. And, these guys, knew that they were both two of the best of their time. The Rock, in the Attitude Era. John Cena, of course, in the Ruthless Aggression. And now in the freaking PG era also, he was definitely known as the best till Roman Reigns took his spot. But, so the build for this started, of course, when The Rock came back for WrestleMania 27. Obviously, even Cena started firing shots at each other, which were quite epic. There was some pretty good stuff. You can't see me. You can't see me. Are you playing peekaboo here? I can't see you. I can't see you. Can you see me? You walk around here like you're wearing your bright ass purple shirt, your bright ass red shirt. You're walking around here like a big fat bowl of Fruity Pebbles. Of course, then they fired some shots, just like I don't need my notes on my wrist for my promos or whatever the heck it is also. But these two fired shots at each other for years. Even teasing, of course, like an alliance when when Cena picked The Rock to be his opponent at Survivor Series against The Miz and R-Truth to just so he can they can protect the state of the WWE and put their differences aside for a night. Of course, in that match afterwards, it was like, okay, back to what we're doing. I'm going to, beat you and prove that, I'm the better one, basically. And in fact, it had a year-long build. I felt the match, wasn't a 5-star classic, but I'd say it was a 4-star classic. I'd say it was still a pretty good match they had for sure at WrestleMania 28. And The Rock won. Of course, again, we should know at the time we didn't, though. It was going to send us for another year-long where I lost to The Rock. A rematch to WrestleMania 29 and bury him alive, But once in a lifetime, I liked for the build for it. So that's why it's my number 9. Number 8, CM Punk disrespecting Paul Bearer. So, of course, Paul Bearer died at the beginning of 2013. And they used that, of course, in The Undertaker's storyline for that year. CM Punk, of course, even though he wasn't a fan of losing to The Undertaker or, dropping the title to The Rock and just, being put into a storyline, put over The Undertaker again, he still did pretty good in this feud. All started when I think he won like a qualifying, like a fatal 4 or something like that to face The Undertaker. And he pretty much immediately starts, get inside Undertaker's head, defeat him mentally because he knew physically he had the high advantage on him. He knew The Undertaker was a threat to him. And so he knew he had to get inside Undertaker's head in order to, be able to beat him. So, of course, he begins to, start, insulting Paul Bearer and his memory and whatnot. Going as far as, taking the urn and disrespecting it, just like tossing it around. I think he even dumped out the ashes at one point, or even, would attack the Undertaker with it. And, of course, he would take the urn and pretend to talk. I mean, I don't have an urn, but I have my GPS box here, so I had to use my GPS for going, "Oh, Undertaker, can you hear me?" Or something like that, basically. And of course, like mine and of course Robbie's favorite line, of course, of that whole feud is, "What's that? Okay, hey Taker, Paul just wanted me to remind you that if you get counted out or disqualified, it's still a loss." But yeah, Punk was to do some evil but amazing intentions as a heel to, of course, get into the head of the Undertaker and become the one in 20 and 1. Unfortunately, despite the fact they put on a 5-star classic, it didn't happen. It was unfortunate that did not happen, though. But still, it was the best match of WrestleMania 29. But Punk did not get paid, what he felt he deserved to pay, even though Rock, Cena, Brock, Taker, and Triple H for, all this respect, couldn't lace his freaking boots that night, as he would say. Definitely got paid more than he did. And of course, we didn't know at the time, but that would end up being Punk's very last WrestleMania match. Because, of course, what happened after Rumble 2014? Bye-bye. And I still got to see Punk's last match since he was in the Rumble in Pittsburgh. I got to see his last match. But that storyline was on my list at number 8. Number 7. Go back to WrestleMania 10. One of the best opening matches for sure in WrestleMania history. Again, that or Bryan and Triple H WrestleMania 30 to me is the best WrestleMania opener so far, I gotta say. But the storyline with Bret and Owen. The storyline here of Owen basically just being tired of being in Bret's shadow. They teased, several occasions since like Survivor Series where they were kind of, getting under each other's skin a little bit. Well, Owen more so seeing he was starting to get annoyed with Bret, feeling like, he was just in Bret's shadow and he was just, he was just known as the other Hart, basically. He wasn't, Bret Hart was, just overruling him. He wanted to prove that he was more superior to his brother. And eventually, after, break up, but then like, okay, we're fine, never mind, I'm fine, teasing get back together. They finally put on a classic of an opener against each other. And, even though Bret Hart would win the world title later on that night against, I think it was Yokozuna. Yeah, Yokozuna. He still put over his brother Owen to set for an even, bigger feud between these two that summer. And, of course, leading to that amazing steel cage match at SummerSlam 1994. Again, I love that steel cage match, watching it for the first time. Again, that steel cage and this whole feud in general is a feud. If you ever want to show anyone to help them appreciate the sport of wrestling, what exactly they do, show them this feud for sure in general. Definitely one of my favorite feuds for sure. I went back and I've seen, and that's why it's on my list at number 7. Owen steps out of Bret's shadow. Had to include a women's storyline. That's why my number 6 has to be Psycho Mickie James. Yep. In general, of course, before, of course, that triple threat match at WrestleMania 32, this was the last women's match at WrestleMania. Safe to say, I feel like a lot of people enjoyed. Mickie James, again, had the freedom to do what she wanted, even though she went a little too far and did the, inappropriate international peace sign, basically, in the match. But it was just a good way to, introduce what Mickie James can do. She came in as being like Trish Stratus' number 1 fan, which rumors have it at first it was supposed to be Lita. She was supposed to be, fantasizing about this, obsessing over, but instead they made it to be Trish. Eventually, though, of course, she would just turn on Trish and, then just wanted, be able to beat Trish, basically. And it was just some classic storyline telling. It was different, but it helped, elevate Mickie James on a whole other level, basically, pretty much. And eventually she helped her become, like the next big star, of course, with, in the next, year or so, we would have Trish and Lita both, retire and move on to better things. It's kind of like a passing of the torch moment in some ways, I felt, for sure, with some great storytelling and, great results as well, putting over a new star, but of course still making, the others still involved look pretty good. So that's why Psycho Mickie is number 6 on my list. So far for the best, we got number 10, Randy Orton gives McMahon hell. Number 9, Once in a Lifetime. Number 8, Punk disrespects Paul Bearer. Because Paul, Taker, Paul wants to remind you that if you get counted out or disqualified, it's still a loss. That was number 8. Number 7 was Owen Hart steps out of Bret Hart's shadow. And number 6 is Psycho Mickie. Check the live chat really quick. Let me see here. Lawrence War star Lesnar and Ambrose. Again, the build-up was good. The match was awful. Cena versus Wyatt. Again, I thought the build was good. match was good until the chair match, but that's still a good pick. Shane and Taker, yes. Brian Sheamus, kinda, yeah. Bella versus AJ and Paige, that was kind of pointless. Del Rio and Edge was okay. Foley and Edge, that was all right. Brock and Goldberg, build was good, but the match at 20 was awful. Okay storyline for Undertaker and Bray. Mark thought probably would worked out better though. Bray would have won. Her best are Orton and McMahon, Cena and Rock Part 1, Mickey and Trish, Batista and Triple H in 2005, Edge and Taker, that's a good one too. Bryan and the Authority, Taker and HBK, Cena versus Triple H versus Orton, Shield versus Orton, Sheamus, Show Styles versus Y2J. Those are good. Honorable mentions for worse for her: Jinder, Orton, Rude, and Brock. Rude, whatever. Yeah, I got my tongue was a yes. That was bad. Roman and Brock Part 1 would be for sure. Triple H, Batista in 2019. I'd say that one is as good as can be, but it's nothing really fresh for them. But, I feel like the match can be good. Give it to me, give it to me, give me what I want, basically, though, we're all getting right now with this. Rock and Cena Part 2, yes. Best, overall mention, Wyatt and Orton. Wyatt and Orton was good, but then it kind of went downhill a little bit after Randy Orton burned. I mean, the segment with Randy Orton burning down the Wyatt family compound was amazing, but that feud kind of went a little downhill afterwards, in my opinion. Taker versus HBK Part 2 was great. Triple H Sting, Bill was good. Triple H and Taker was great. Punk and Orton wasn't too bad. Cena and Taker was good. I have a few more, just can't think of any right now. HBK versus Cena was awesome too. That was a good one. Kane and Khali, yeah, that was terrible. As was also Benoit and MVP. Don't remember that one. Rollins and Orton was good. Punk and Taker was great, as was HBK versus Ric Flair. That was, of course, great. Brock and Triple H was okay. Could have been a little better, but it wasn't terrible. Worse is Umaga versus Batista. That one was meh. Why is it storylines are always better than the matches? Just how it happens sometimes. Hogan and Savage was great, and Owen versus Brett and Stone Cold versus Rock were great. Cena, Triple H versus Cena, and Angle versus Orton versus Ray was great. Those were good. Guerrero versus Lesnar was good. Brett and HBK, that was good too. Sasha and Charlotte Becky was great. Her top 5 favorite women's matches at Mania are Mickey and Trish. Or her top favorite WrestleMania matches, Mickey and Trish, which was definitely awesome. Favorite women's storylines for Mania are Mickey and Trish, Sasha, Charlotte Becky, and Melina and Ashley. Those were good. Favorite men's are Orton and HBK. Orton, Triple H, HBK, and Cena. Edge and Taker. Punk and Taker, Cena and Rock Part 1, Punk and Orton, Taker and HBK in 09, Orton versus Rock, and Wyatt versus Orton. I need to make a video of this as well, she said. Finn, Rollins, and Miz is an amazing match, but the storyline sucked. Yeah, the storyline, again, was kind of strange for that, because they had both Finn and Seth pin the IC champion in one night to get a title match. I thought it was weird how that all came together. Rude and Orton would have been great at WrestleMania 34 until Jinder interfered, for sure. Yeah, AJ and Paige and the bells was pointless. It was just basically, again, just to have an excuse for Nikki Bella not to lose the title, but still lose. It was stupid. Rusev and Cena was not great. I think it would have been good though if Rusev would have gone over. I mean, the match at Fastlane they had, I thought was pretty good, but then this match was decent, but again, it was the beginning of the end for Rusev. Bellas and Paige and AJ was awful. Maria and Ashley versus Melina and Beth at WrestleMania 24. That one was all right. Wasn't too bad, but I still like the singles match better with Mickey and Trish, of course, and of course the triple threat match. Even last year, Asuka and Charlotte put on a pretty good women's match, of course, for sure as well. Let's get into my top 5. Starting off with one of my personal favorites, number 5. Y2J attempting to expose CM Punk in 2012. You know, Jericho as a heel is always epic. I still feel, in my opinion, Jericho is personally at his best as a heel. He's one of those guys where he'll always be great as a heel. He can be great as a babyface, but he's only great with a baby face when he's coming off, fresh, from his heel character. As he has things with his heel character, he can transfer over to his baby face role. And then you can tell over time, he is kind of flat and needs that heel turn again to see him reignite something else. Kind of like Randy Orton, I feel. I prefer Jericho as a heel, basically. Long story short. But this was Jericho as a heel being just a complete troll. Like, it was this classic dick move after dick move, basically, on CM Punk. Well, first off, Jericho should have definitely won the 2012 Royal Rumble. I still don't get to this day why they had to be Sheamus. But you still could have had Jericho win the Rumble and go after Punk, basically. But instead, they did the opposite way, and it made the Rumble look kind of pointless. Chris Jericho is just attempting just to get Punk angry, just to piss him off. Starting off by, of course, as just attacking his family. I've done some research. Your father is an alcoholic. Your sister, she has substance abuse as well. Just attacking Punk for being straight edge and just saying, well, it's still in you somewhere because of your family. You're related to drug addicts, alcoholics, and whatnot. I'm pretty sure, you're going to fall into, their same state sometime soon. And of course, one of my favorite lines was, your parents' wedding date took place after your birth date. So that makes you the legal definition of a bastard, basically. And one of my favorite lines. And of course, it sets Punk off an edge. And of course, around this time, Punk, of course, been built up his issues. Of course, everyone, for the most part, built their issues with the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and General Manager of Raw and SmackDown. Well, that was a time whenever, Laurinaitis was the interim General Manager, and that's when him and Teddy Long had that Team Teddy versus Team Johnny match for WrestleMania 28, and the winning team that person would become General Manager for both Raw and SmackDown. Of course, since Team Johnny won, Laurinaitis went up to Punk and said, you know what? I want this to be a controlled wrestling match, not an all-out fight. So I'm adding a stipulation to your match that if you get disqualified, you will lose your championship, which just kind of played in so well because, Punk was easily getting pissed off at, what Jericho was doing, insulting his family and whatnot. And this match is one of my favorites. You'll definitely expect to see this match in my top 10 for WrestleMania matches next week. During the match, Jericho just starts yelling at Punk, "Hey, Punk, how's your father? How's your sister?" Just doing anything he can just to make Punk angry and to make Punk just go ballistic and literally just, beat him up ape shit just so he can get disqualified. And then there comes to my favorite spot in that entire match. Again, I'll be talking about this next week too, of course, is when Jericho just hands Punk a chair, gets down, and just begging him. Like he's begging him to see, give him mercy. But instead, he was just like, "Come on, Punk, hit me in the head, Punk. Come on, Punk, hit me in the head. Your father's a drug, Punk. Your father's a drug." Just doing anything he can just to piss off Punk. I mean, the thing about that match I didn't like, though, was the second half, it seemed like they kind of veered away from that a little bit. They still kind of went down that route, but it didn't seem like Jericho tried to attack Punk as much, with that. But it was just Jericho being just a pure troll, just doing whatever he can to piss off Punk. I've seen Jericho do other, epic stuff as a heel, but that was Jericho, full on troll for sure, I felt. And definitely, in my opinion, one of my favorite storylines for sure for WrestleMania. And that is why it is my number 5 on this list. My number 4 on this list. a story that I actually really got invested in. It's one of those storylines that, like, when I first started seeing highlights for, back when I was still, an early bird wrestling fan, or a late bloomer wrestling fan, when I started watching, I started, looking at stuff from the past. This was one storyline that also kind of caught my attention for sure. Shawn Michaels, desperate to wrestle The Undertaker one more time. All started, of course, as a 2009 Slammies, when Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker had won, the Slammy for Best Match of the Year. And he laid out the challenge, saying that he wanted to face him one more time because he knows he can beat him. He wrestled pretty much a perfect match, made one mistake, as he always said, and he wanted one more chance. Undertaker, of course, though, later on rejected it. So then Shawn Michaels was just so obsessed that that's the only person he wanted to compete with at WrestleMania. So that time, Taker was world champion. Shawn Michaels says, I got to do. I have to enter the Royal Rumble and win it. That way, I can face you at WrestleMania and, prove that I could beat you. Well, of course, that moment in the Royal Rumble where Shawn Michaels came in, of course, he did anything he could. He even eliminated his own best friend, Triple H, from the match. And it was still, a decent amount of time still left in the match, of course. Well, a decent amount of people still left. He eliminated Triple H, but he did anything he could. I think it came down, the final four was him, Batista, Edge, and Cena were the final four for that Rumble. And Shawn Michaels, I love the way they played off his elimination in that Rumble match. I think Batista kind of pushed him off, and you could see him reaching for the ropes to save himself. He just misses. He gets eliminated, and he just goes berserk, goes in there and just starts, just super kicking everyone in sight, taking out his frustration that he knew that, his chances now facing Undertaker were like just about dead. Just for him, of course, to go as far at the Elimination Chamber, somehow get inside the chamber, super kick the Undertaker, and help Chris Jericho become the new World Heavyweight Champion. Of course, that's when Shawn Michaels basically said, my actions, no explanation. It's obvious why I did what I did, to obviously, get you to get your attention, and to give me the chance to face you at WrestleMania again. Finally, Undertaker did accept, but he said under one condition: if you win, you break the streak. But if I win, your career is over. And Michaels just goes, if I can't beat you, I have no more career. You're on. They had the match. It was an amazing main event of WrestleMania 26. We all know that Shawn Michaels lost. That was the end of his career, but just some great storytelling, I thought, for sure, from beginning to end. And, it was just a great way to write the final chapter in this rivalry for sure. Well, one-on-one rivalry, at least, of course. Now, I did not put end of an era on this. I already put that down as a moment. The storyline was good too, but if we're saying that end of an era, we're saying that to me as like a moment and a match. Talk about that next week also probably as well. But that's why my number 3, though. Wait, number 3 is number 4. Number 4, I'm sorry, is HBK desperate for The Undertaker. Number 3, Stone Cold and the Corporation. This, of course, was even Stone Cold, more so Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Because, this feud started off in WrestleMania 15, of course, when, the Corporation was in full attack. And this is, of course, when, Stone Cold Steve Austin's pretty much feuded with Vince McMahon, basically. And Vince McMahon was doing everything he could to stop them. And then, Stone Cold basically refused to, follow his rules. And, he was falling victim, of course, to people, who were part of people who did bow down to Vincent Kennedy McMahon, of course. Leading to, of course, just, more and more of like, Stone Cold just at his very best. He would go to WrestleMania 15. And then, of course, they have another match, WrestleMania 17, where You know, at the time, it was a shocker when Stone Cold turned heel and, you know, had Vince McMahon's help to win the championship. But then, of course, you know, it just led to like a meh heel run for Stone Cold because, you know, no one wanted to boo Stone Cold. But eventually, of course, they'd have one more match at WrestleMania 19. But just, you know, settle their score, basically, for the rubber match between the two of them. But it was still definitely one of the best stories of all time, one of the best rivalries of all time for sure. In my opinion, one of the best stories, of course, of WrestleMania history. My number 3, though. My number 2, the Mega Powers explode. A great storyline here from the beginning where, you know, two of the best at the time, Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man himself, Randy Savage, teamed up. Of course, you know, Hulk Hogan would then kind of show some, you know, interest in Macho Man's wife. And he, you know, it obviously started some tension between the two of them. So when they eventually, you know, exploded, I think in that segment, of course, where I think Elizabeth was in like, you know, hospital bed or something like that, or not hospital, but in like, you know, just getting checked out, and they exploded and they got into this fight. They brawled and they turned on each other and they split up. We, of course, there was that big WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 5 when Hulk Hogan took on the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Of course, Savage was the heel at this time. Hogan was the face. Hogan overcame them, but definitely just, you know, just very classic booking of like, you know, establishing, you know, a fresh, you know, more of an interesting talent in the Macho Man, who, you know, although he was, you know, on the rise, but definitely, even though he lost, it was a feud where he came out still looking strong and lost. And, you know, in a couple of years down the line, he would still, you know, get his big WrestleMania moments as well. So definitely, you know, obviously another moment for Hulk Hogan, but also, you know, in the loss took the Macho Man to a whole nother level as well, for sure. That's when the Mega Powers exploded, number 2. And if y'all know me well, my number 1, it's got to be, again, the storyline, again, that made me a wrestling fan, Daniel Bryan, the Authority. Again, Daniel Bryan, of course, you know, had like Punk had the Summer of Punk in 2013. Summer of Punk's in 2011. Bryan's summer was in 2013 when he was pretty much, you know, it was right after, you know, Team Hell No had dropped the tag titles. And there's a storyline where, you know, both Bryan and Kane obviously had interest in, you know, bigger things such as being in the main event scene. And Bryan was trying to prove once and for all that he was not the weak link. And he'd have, like, you know, matches with Randy Orton over that summer. He, of course, was still in the midst of a feud with the Shield. He would, you know, he had like that gauntlet match involved. I think it was Jack Swagger, Cesaro, and Ryback rules. The heel Ryback at the time, which, of course, you know, wasn't a good run for him at all. But you know, building up till he, you know, eventually was picked by John Cena to be his opponent at SummerSlam 2013. When that happened, of course, Bryan won. And of course, the build of that was, of course, you know, obviously the company did not want Bryan as his top guy. And they did everything they could, of course, to keep him out of the match. But Triple H, though, well, first off, Brad Maddox was obviously involved in a couple segments that he was, you know, going against Bryan and making Bryan look bad. And Maddox wanted to be the referee for the match at SummerSlam. John Cena wanted a fair match. Daniel Bryan wanted a fair match, even though he was still, you know, attacking Cena for being a parody of himself, basically. But then Triple H, of course, though, was standing up saying, you know, he wasn't being, you know, like, you know, biased towards Daniel Bryan, but he was showing that he at least believed in Daniel Bryan, basically. So he wanted to be the referee at SummerSlam, which he was. Bryan beat Cena clean until afterwards when Orton cashed in, and Triple H turned on Bryan and helped Randy Orton cash in and become champion, claiming that Randy Orton was the man he believed should be the face of this company. And of course, you know, the Authority did all they could to keep the title off of Daniel Bryan, whether it was a fast count at Night of Champions, the Big Show getting involved at Battleground, even, you know, the Hell in a Cell plan didn't work out for Bryan. That's when, of course, you know, Bryan, you know, was then sidetracked by the Wyatts. Bryan, you know, put over the Wyatts, but then Of course, he got back in the title picture at Elimination Chamber. He came up short again thanks to Kane getting involved in the chamber match. And then Bryan finally had enough of the Authority, just getting his way and just stopping him every time. Even if when he would beat, all his, A players, and Bryan's trying to prove that he is not a B+ player, the Authority still just would not get him what he felt he deserved and what the crowd wanted. They just kept, doing what they wanted, such as, making a match of Batista and Randy Orton for WrestleMania 30 that nobody wanted to see. But of course, the people who did want to see were the ones who became the villains, and it rolled in the right direction. Daniel Bryan eventually pushed the Authority over the line, and he got his chance. He had to beat Triple H at WrestleMania, and if he beat Triple H, he gets added to the championship match. Of course, eventually Triple H makes it official that the match will be a triple threat because he wanted to get into the match when he beat Bryan, so he can prove he is the most powerful man in the world. Although, to be honest, a triple threat between the 3 Evolution members would not have been a bad idea either way, but still, this was Bryan's moment. So Daniel Bryan, of course, overcame Triple H and beat him at WrestleMania 30. Afterwards, of course, he had been, beaten down, a couple weeks earlier by Stephanie and Triple H, trying to keep Bryan away, but it did not work. Of course, there was that amazing, go home segment in the main event of the Go Home show of Raw, where Bryan returned after being gone for 2 weeks and beat the crap out of Triple H and everyone else, and just players making a huge statement, basically, that, hey, I'm ready and I'm coming for you. And of course, after the match at WrestleMania 30 between Bryan and Triple H, they sold Bryan's shoulder injury very well, and it hurt Bryan more so that way he couldn't survive. And of course, during the main event match, the Authority came out, tried to throw all the odds against Bryan again, but once again, Bryan just overcame them all, even including a Batista bomb into an RKO combo on the announce table, and Bryan overcame the Authority. Unfortunately, of course, he'd have to drop the championship a month later because of his neck injury, but it's still a moment that you cannot take away from him for sure. And it's my #1 storyline for WrestleMania of all time. So let me go back, of course, and, read off, my lists again. For the worst, number 10 was Spear, the story between Edge and Chris Jericho from WrestleMania 26. Number 9 is Jinder Mahal and the U.S. title from WrestleMania 34. Number 8 is The Big Show not having a WrestleMania moment. That's story on WrestleMania 28. Number 7 is Cena in the Love Triangle, WrestleMania 25. Number 6 was Swagger and Del Rio, WrestleMania 29. Number 5 was Shane McMahon and Vince's bitch, The Undertaker, WrestleMania 32. Number 4 was part 1 of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Number 3 was Booker T's racist storyline, WrestleMania 19. Number 2 was Roman Reigns, The Authority, WrestleMania 32. Number 1 was Twice in a Lifetime. For best, number 10 is Randy Orton giving the McMahons hell. Number 9 is Once in a Lifetime. Number 8 is Punk disrespecting Paul Bearer. Number 7 is Owen steps out of Brett's shadow. Number 6 is Psycho Mickey. Number 5 is Y2J exposing CM Punk. Number 4 is HBK desperate for Taker. Number 3 is Stone Cold and the Corporation and The Rock, of course. Number 2 is the Mega Powers explode. And number 1, Daniel Bryan and the Authority. Check the live chat one more time. Before, of course, y'all check the live chat, I just want to get a quick announcement out there. It's going to be a baseball-related stream. But tomorrow, probably early afternoon, I'm going to do a top 10 special on my favorite baseball player, Ichiro Suzuki, tomorrow. I'm going to do that tomorrow to talk about my top 10 favorite moments from his career. Get something a little bit different on his channel as well, since he's getting my favorite baseball player. I want to give out my top 10 moments, talk about his career. So if you'd like to join and hear about Ichiro, feel free to, do that sometime tomorrow afternoon. Probably around 1 o'clock or so. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. We'll see how things go. I'm going to get that shot out there right quick. But let's check the live chat and see what we got here. Let's see here. Where were we at? I think we were right here. Yeah, Nikki versus Brie versus AJ versus Paige would be better for the Divas title. I thought first of all, before AJ Lee came back, my prediction for WrestleMania 31 actually was a fatal 4-way with Nikki, Brie, Paige, and Charlotte. I thought that's what we were going to get at WrestleMania 31. Asuka and Charlotte's match was great, but storyline sucked, which that is true. Yeah, the storyline, again, Asuka and Charlotte was one of those storylines where, like, the match is announced. Awesome. See you at WrestleMania. That's all basically was. Oh boy, Y2J and Fandango was stupid. Y2J Punk is definitely underrated. Y2J Strive as a heel. Brian the Authority, for sure. Nakamura and Styles. Storyline was great. Match was ass. Storyline was a little flat for Nakamura and Styles. Like, there wasn't really too much of a storyline to it. The match, I thought, I'd say it was more of like a solid match, but we expected a lot better for sure from them. Jericho should have won the 2012 Rumble as well. Betraying SmackDown Live team and Zack Ryder 28 was what it was. Orton and Kane was all right. Del Rio and Edge was fine. The matches with Jericho and Edge were good, but the storyline wasn't terrible, but it could have been better. That's why I put it in my number 10. Vicky's team versus Kelly's team at Mania 26. I forgot about that one. Batista and Cena was all right. Show versus Edge and Cena, that was on my list, number 7 for worst. Shield versus Orton, Show, and Sheamus was okay. Core versus New Nexus, I was a fan of that one. Cena, Miz, and Rock, meh. Lawler and Cole, oh dear Lord, forgot to talk about that one. Well, we'll be talking about that for matches, of course, next week. Tori and Candice, that wasn't too bad. Sheamus winning the world title at 18 seconds for Mark was a worse. True, but at the same time, it's still kind of made Daniel Bryan, though, in my opinion. So I can't completely hate on that. Batista, Triple H, Bryan Orton was great. AJ Lee versus Total Divas, meh, that was all right. Steph and Triple H versus Angle and Ronda, that's for honorable mention. Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler was definitely terrible. We'll talk about that one next week. Ronda and Rock versus Stephanie Triple H, more of a segment, though, but that was still an awesome segment for sure. Lauren liked the Lawler and Cole storyline, but the match sucked. Don't remind me. Christy and who's Christy and Trish? That's right. I can't remember now, but that was decent. The tag team ladder match, tables, chairs match. Again, that's just the match. Storyline wise, though, storyline wise, no, that's good. But that was talking about for matches, though. China and Ivory wasn't too bad. Taker and Roman, meh. Randy Orton and CM Punk, Mark, that was good, sweet. Braun at WrestleMania 34, we'll talk about that match next week. Owens and Y2J, I thought was good. Ambrose and Corbin, Bill was good. Match was what it was. Got thrown on a pre-show. Shane and Styles was good. Again, Shane and Styles was good, but it was that year we kind of felt like, Styles are better than just Shane McMahon, though. But it was still a great match, don't get me wrong. Nikki and Cena and Miz and Maurice. Oh yeah, I actually really enjoyed that storyline. Unfortunately, though, led to nothing because Cena and Nikki didn't get married in the end. But storyline was still fun. Triple H, Rock, and Y2J in the Fatal 4-Way. Y2J was on that Fatal 4-Way though, because remember it was supposed to be I think it was supposed to be Triple H, Rock, Big Show, and Jericho, but instead they put in Foley there to give him a WrestleMania main event. But that was all right. It should have been just Rock and Triple H, honestly. Money in the Bank 2005 was all right. Hogan, Savage, yes. Bret and HBK, that was good. Andre and Hogan was great, of course, as well. Evolution, Rock and Sock Connection was good. Oh, yeah, Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon after the match. Of course, Vince taking out on a stretcher, all bloodied up, and he gives Shawn the finger. Of course, that's led him to go creating McMahonism. And again, I won't forget Michael Cole. When I watched the match card for Backlash 2006, where he said it's going to be Vince McMahon and his Fruit of the Loom record and his son Shane McMahon against the tag team of Shawn Michaels and his tag team partner, God? Oh, again, that was so messed up. Let's see here. McMahon and Umaga versus Lashley and Trump was corny. And only Bryan and Authority is the top, I think, for matches top. But I respect your opinion. I mean, I'm sure some of these storylines are definitely better, but again, it was a storyline that I was able to take and appreciate. Like, yes, I can go back and watch, Rock and Stone Cold and all those other ones, but I feel like I can't appreciate that much because I didn't see it live, and I kind of knew what was coming basically. So that's why I put Bryan the Authority number 1 for me. Shield versus 20 superstars in Mania 30. Shield faced Kane and the New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania 30. But that match was just a squash, but that was a squash. I'm like, cool, because the Shield at the time was at their hottest, so definitely making them look as good as they did was the right thing to do. McMahon's always feuding with someone for sure. Orton Legacy was decent, I thought. Right now he's feuding with Kofi. Yep. Hopefully Kofi will get his moment in 2 weeks. I hope so too. 2015 Andre the Giant. That was meh. Rollins and Brock hopefully will be good. I would love to see Batista versus Orton one-on-one personally. Would not have been bad, maybe. Well, not for the title, though, WrestleMania 30, but a singles match in WrestleMania, maybe. I was hoping for a triple threat with Evolution. What would you have? Who would you have went with? Well, again, if it did end up being a triple threat with Evolution, which honestly, again, a triple threat with Evolution sounds good on paper. I actually would not mind to have seen that, but of course that was Brian's moment. But I think if Triple H would have won, though, I was going to pick Batista to probably win the match, just because he came back and he'd probably get what he basically promised. You're right, Brian proved he was the best on that night for sure. Randy, Cody, and Ted. We are talking about that. Orton versus Batista versus Brian 30 was the best match for sure. Can you repeat your picks again? I can't hear you. Oh crap! I already deleted them. I think I already repeated them though for you, Lauren. Awesome picks. I'll make my video this coming week. Nice. She's checking out, but doesn't look like she did yet. Undertaker and Brock. Decent storyline. The match was not too good though, but of course the moment was impactful. Definitely. Cena versus Show. Not a fan of that feud. Money in the Bank 2007 was all right. Styles and Jericho was not too bad either, except for the fact, of course, the wrong person went over. Beth and Melina versus Maria and Ashley. Bunny Mania. That was weird. Honor and Giant War about Royal 2015 was Matt. Styles and Shane was good. Again, I said was good match and a decent storyline, but again, I felt Styles are a little bit better. IC Top Match 31 was great as well. Jericho and Christian, of course, I enjoyed that. And it looks like we're just about ready to check out here. But guys, thank you again for joining me for this special live stream. Again, this is my top 10 WrestleMania best and worst storylines. Again, next week will be top 10 best and worst WrestleMania matches following the following week, which that Thursday will be the day before, I leave for WrestleMania 35, which again, I'm leaving for WrestleMania for New York after I watched TakeOver New York at Dan's house. So I will not be able to do any live reviews though until I get back from New York, which again I will be gone from Friday, April 5th. I'm leaving at 11 o'clock at night, taking a mega bus overnight to New York, in New York at like 7 a.m. And then I'm leaving New York to head home on Tuesday and getting home probably in plenty of time for SmackDown. But I will do my live reviews that week of all the shows to catch up as well. But I probably may be live on Dan's channel for a live review TakeOver if we have time, of course, before we leave for the mega bus. But so yeah, that's the plan for next week, guys. And also, again, if you'd like to talk some baseball, join me tomorrow afternoon, like early tomorrow afternoon, for my top 10 special, talking about my top 10 Ichiro moments as well, to celebrate Ichiro's career as he announced his retirement today. So thank you to everyone who joined me in the live chat. As always, guys, please, as always, you guys, if you have any of your favorite best and worst storylines, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, as always. And be sure, as always, to click my like and subscribe or comment to my channel. You may follow me as well on Twitter at TheMania93. And guys, with that, I will catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. If I don't see you guys tomorrow, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday for Raw. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your night, and peace out, everybody.